Welcome to the next part of our gorgeous pumpkin patch design. This tutorial is going to be on how to stitch our awesome little pumpkin sign. Pumpkins for 50 cents. I think I'm being a bit optimistic here, but you know, let's have a bit of fun with it. So you can place this wherever you like. I'm just going to pop mine right here. Let's make sure that we are adhering it to our garment nice and firmly so that we don't get any rolling. And the first thing we're going to do is take a really generous armful worth of the brown yarn, or whichever colour you've chosen to stitch with, and we're just leaving a little tail over the end of the needle. And the whole stitch for this whole project is going to be the back stitch, and most of you probably know how to do a back stitch, but let's just refresh anyway. So we're going to bring our needle up from our starting point, so we're just going to pull it through here. And I'm going to make sure that I'm leaving a tail underneath to tie off to later. Now the stitching distance here we usually use is about 1/2 centimetre. You can of course use your fabric marker and mark along the outside of the design if you find it easier. So we're just going to bring our needle down with a space of about 1/2 centimetre, and then again moving forward about 1/2 centimetre we're going to bring our needle up, and I'm just going to tuck it back into the end of the previous stitch, and this is simply how we do a back stitch. So we're going to bring that needle down now. And then once that's in place, we're just going to again push forward about 1/2 centimetre, bringing our needle up, and then tucking it again into the end of the previous stitch, into the hole where we pretty much ended. So you're just going to pop it into that part there and pull it through. And this is it. We're going to continue like this all the way around the outside of the sign. It's also going to be the stitch we're using for the lettering. So it's really nice and beginner friendly. So now we've come to the top, we've got enough yarn on our needle now to fill in this little section inside the middle. So we're just going to slightly move across, and I'm just going to pop a little back stitch into this part here. And it's at this point that I realise I am actually wearing my little thimble on my thumb, which I haven't noticed yet whilst I'm filming, and you will see I do take it off. The stitching on stick and stitch can be a little bit taxing on your fingers at times, and occasionally, not often, I have to pop this on because when I'm doing quite a lot of filming, it really can be quite sore on my little fingers. So you will see in a minute, I do realise I'm wearing it, and I do actually take it off. It's not very aesthetically pleasing for my videos. But anyway, if you do find that the stick and stitch is a little bit uncomfortable on your fingers, then I would highly suggest grabbing some of those. They're very, very cheap to buy, and just popping one on your thumb and even your forefinger just to help with that pressure. Anyway, back to the stitching. We are going to just continue with our back stitch, filling in all of these little markings. So I'm just going to bring my needle down, and we're just going to fill in until we get to the bottom. And we're just going to repeat this process again on the other side. And then once we're there, we can then flip our garment over, and we're just going to track through our work so that our threaded needle and our beginning tail are together. Once they're together, we can tie them together in a triple knot and snip away any excess ends. And this is how we're going to be tying off for all of our projects. Next, we're going to thread on another generous pull of the brown yarn, and we're going to do the exact same stitch, but this time going around the outside of the sign, so leaving our tail to tie off to. You might want to turn the garment the way that you're stitching. It might just be a little bit easier. And again, sticking with that 1/2 centimetre spacing, we're just going to go all the way around the sign. And now that we're here, we're just going to lock in that last stitch. We can turn our garment over, and you'll see we've got our starting and our ending tail here. We're just going to tie them together in a triple knot. Next, we're going to thread on a good armful of the whatever colour you'd like for your lettering. I've gone with a sort of mustard yellow, and I've probably got about 1.5 meters here for this. I would like to try and do this in one stitch. It's just going to be a very simple back stitch. So you see we're going to start here at the base of my P. And again, keeping that spacing of about 0.5 centimetre, I'm just going to fill these in with a back stitch. So keep that tail underneath as well to tie off to. So we're just going to pop in a little back stitch here. We'll probably get about 3 into this P, and we're just going to do this stitch all the way, filling in all of these letters. Now, if you do find that you're running out of yarn, it's a very simple fix. You're just going to take the yarn off your needle, however much you've got left on your needle, and then you're just going to rethread on some new yarn. You can just continue where you left off. Just make sure that you tie off those little ends when you're done. So you may have a couple of loose ends where you've had to rethread, and you just make sure you tie those off in a triple knot, and you're good to go. So now that we've finished our letters, I'm just going to flip my garment over, and then we are just going to take our needle and thread it all the way through our work so that our starting and our ending tail are now together, and we can tie them together in a triple knot. Once we've tied that off, we're just going to use the same stitch, but this time I'm going to use a black yarn, and we're going to do the 50 cents as well, exactly the same. Next, I've put on a good armful of the brown yarn again, and we're just going to do this sort of wooden effect that's on the design. You can leave this off if you like, or you can add it on. It is just a simple back stitch, and it's hard to see on this video, but there's lots of little sort of dashes and wooden effect marks all over the sign, and we're just going to fill these in with a back stitch. Now, some of these do have big spacings between them, and if we were to just move our needle to the top without threading it through something, you're going to have some gathering. So to get around this, we're just going to pop this last back stitch in here, And then you'll see I'm going to turn my garment over and I'm going to use my previous stitching, and I'm just going to thread my needle through my work, and that will allow me to bring my needle to the top section. So let's flip that over and you'll see I'm just going to do a whipped back stitch through my work, and now my needle is at the top section, so I won't have any gathering and it will just stitch nice and smoothly. And again, we're just going to tie off with a triple knot. So we just may need to thread our needle through to bring those two tails together. But once they are, we can tie them together and snip away any excess ends. Next, I've threaded on about 1 meter of green yarn. We're leaving a tail underneath to tie off to. And again, we're going to do our back stitch here as well. We're just going to follow the markings on the design, and we're just going to pop maybe just one here. I think the next one's probably just going to be one also, maybe two. As the little pieces of grass get thicker, it needs more stitching. So we may pop two in here, and we're just going to bring our needle up next to it. I'm just going to pop a little stitch just next to it, just to fill that piece of grass or that blade of grass out just that little bit more. And at the base of the sign, you'll see there's 3 little blades of grass. I'm just going to pop that in there too. Then I'm just going to do a little stem, and I just think I might just pop a little hot pink flower in here. I don't know why, I just wanted a little pop of colour. And this is very simple, just a little satin stitch in here. You can pop 3 to 5 little stitches in here, depends how full you want it. And then once we finish there, of course, we're just going to do our usual. We're just going to tie off underneath with the triple knot. And that is your gorgeous pumpkin patch sign complete. Let's remove this stabilizer. So under some nice lukewarm water, if you have the shower setting on your tap, this works really, really well. We're just going to just rinse over our work, and you'll see the stabilizer just dissolves really, really nicely. And once you've removed all of your stabilizer, you're just going to flat lay to dry, and then you're good to move on to the next part. That is your gorgeous pumpkin patch sign complete, and with the pumpkins at the bottom, it's all just starting to come together so, so perfectly. Let's move on to our mushrooms.